there's loads of reasons why a vendor would want and would rather sell to you, the investor, off market, and will take a lesser price because they're saving all that cost and hassle than going into the traditional list it with an agent.
The amount of times I've been on a mentorship where you're out viewing a property and there's someone standing there, no one's talking to them, and you go up and you talk to them and they turn out to be the owner of the agency, goldmine of information.
If you meet someone that's similar to you in your attributes and the way that they can hold themselves, that will instantly put that person at ease. Hi, and welcome to this Property Life podcast brought to you by Property Wealth System. I'm Caroline Claydon, and today I am joined by my partner in property as well as life, and that is Nick Claydon.
Hello.
Today, hi. Oh, yeah. Not usual. Today we are going to talk about the hidden hacks behind investing in property and negotiating your deals so that the deals go in your favor. So we're talking all about the hidden hacks of negotiation. Nick's going to cover the out on the field stuff today, but we are going to cover a lot of different angles of negotiation because there's lots of different people that you're going to be negotiating with while we are investing in property. So, Nick, do you want to cover right back to basics on establishing someone's personality type as a base point on how we start negotiating? Because that's how I would probably do it.
Well, yeah, a lot of it obviously depends on who you're negotiating with.
Yeah.
You've got to know who you negotiate with, I think. So, if we take it back to basics, you're out in the field, you're looking at properties, you're running your numbers, you get to the point of making an offer, and it's who you're offering to. Well, are you offering to an agent or are you offering direct to vendor? And so they're quite different. And I think, you do need to approach that very, very differently.
And there's a difference between a residential property agent and a commercial property agent as well. That's another angle.
Okay, so we'll talk about commercial at the end, so you can talk about our experiences.
I love commercial.
Dealing with commercial agents. So that's your little area of specialism.
Yes, there's not many areas that I know what I'm doing in, but that's one of them.
That is one of them. But yeah, okay. So let's start with direct to vendor. I think so. This is where you have you've done all your kind of off market advertising. You found a deal direct to vendor.
Yeah.
For those who are just kind of starting out, maybe in property, that means maybe you've done a leaflet job, or you've found through a connection, contact, somebody who's selling a property, and you can speak direct to the vendor without an agent getting in the way.
I love these. These are like my favorite number ones. I really do love vendors.
I think some of our best deals on paper, I think, have been direct to vendor. Well, on paper, what I mean is kind of discount from value, from market value. I think best one's been done.
Yeah.
Direct to vendor. But yeah, so if you are dealing with a vendor, and you are looking at the kind of properties that we are teaching you to look at, which is properties that are distressed, where you've got by distressed I mean need renovation. Generally speaking, you are dealing with potentially a family member whose parent or grandparent has either gone into residential accommodation or perhaps has died, and they are dealing with the sale of the property. So the first thing when you're dealing with this kind of situation would be to be sensitive to it and not go kind of bull in a china shop and start chucking offers out left, right, and centre. You're just going to annoy or upset them. So you do have to,
it's a sensitive situation, isn't it? When there's a death, divorce, or relocation, maybe a redundancy or something like that. It's sensitive. So you really do need to be part counsellor, part property investor, don't you? And listen to the story behind the property.
Yeah, you do have to, be sensitive, be a human being, just actually talk to somebody. But, when you're starting your negotiations here, it is, with a view to deals are done with people. It's a people business, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The property, obviously, what's in your head as an investor, you think about what do I need to do to this property, and what have I got to spend to do it up. But in order to actually get the deal in the first place, you've got to be able to talk to people and understand the story behind it, and find out what their sellers, what the seller's motivation is and why they would want to sell the property to you potentially for less than they could get on the open market. Now I hear straight away the cynics out there go, well, why would anybody sell you a property below what they could get on the open market? There are a lot of people who are not in property, I think, would be very suspicious of that.
Well, I think that, you got to think about the fact that we're talking to an audience of property people. We are property people. So we constantly are thinking about coming up with property solutions to problems and maximizing our returns. Whereas the Joe Blogs average person out there is not a property person, and they might not be motivated by money, and they might not actually want the maximum price for that asset, and they want a different problem solved. And it could be just the fact that the pain of going through a prolonged sale because they're relocating overseas is just too stressful for them, and they just want it done and dusted and gone. And if that means taking a lesser price and getting it done, that solves that pain. And I think the key here, which you have missed out, Nick, and I'm going to pull you up on that, and that is the personality behind the story.
I haven't got there yet.
Well, I'm getting there now because you're taking too long to get there, honestly.
We've got like 45 minutes.
No, let's get it done quicker. And I've just noticed that you've nicked my plant from the bathroom again. That plant does not like to get moved. Anyway, only those on YouTube. Okay, so while we like to get to the crux of the numbers and putting the offer in and getting the deal done and over the line, we do need to take the time to communicate with these individuals, the people, so we can not only hear what problem they want solved, but also try and assess their personality types.
Yes, personality types.
Well, yeah, hurry up and get there.
All right, fine, let's get there now. Okay, so you got 4 main personality types, depending how you describe it. You've got your driver personality. Don't know if you do the animals. I think you do the animals.
I do the animals. So the driver personality is the lion. Like, they look at big picture. They want to get things done. They're very fast paced. They're superficial. They don't suffer fools gladly. They're savage.
It's like, let's just get on with it. Let's just do it. Right?
Yeah,
that's do it. Driver personality. Okay. Yeah. Then you've got your socializer, which is
cheeky monkey. The monkey is a socializer. They're great with people. They'll talk about holidays, parties. They're great in a team because they get everyone involved. They really are a people person.
What about the fun?
But they definitely get distracted easily. They're difficult to keep on track. Yes.
Mm-hmm. We have one in the room.
Maybe.
Yeah, and just at this point, you just you realize everyone is an element of all of these, but one or two are more dominant.
2 are definitely more dominant in your personality profile.
So then you have the analytical.
Oh, the analytical. Yeah, that's the owl. So they need the detail. They want the spreadsheets. They want the pie charts. They want data. They have to be right in every situation. So they have to feel like they've got all the detail they need before they can move forward. They will procrastinate. They will get analysis paralysis. They'll probably overthink, and they're not people. They're generally working in IT or accountants or analysts or solicitors. Anyone who's dealing with detail, that is an analytical or analytical personality type.
If you're an analytical, if your default is open up your laptop and get an Excel spreadsheet going, you go, ooh, yes, I love an Excel spreadsheet.
Graphs and pie charts, yeah.
So they're your analyticals and your owls, okay? And then you have your amiables, which is the dolphin. Is that the dolphin?
That's the dolphin. The amiable dolphin. They're so caring, loving. They're also a people person. They would be working in charity or with children or animals, the environment. They're all about the greater good, making sure everyone's okay. They will self-sacrifice. They hate confrontation. They hate conflict. Again, they don't make decisions very easily. They will procrastinate. And if something seems a little bit awkward or going to be in any way confrontational, they will avoid that at all costs.
Yeah. So as I said, you're not just one of these personality types. Everyone is a mixture of them, but you will have one or two more dominant styles. So you can probably all guess what dominant styles Caroline would be, and probably what mine are.
I'm a lion monkey all day long.
There, okay,
Yep.
and a lion owl over this side.
Oh God, I will just drive you mental.
You got to have an owl, yeah. So if your team needs one, okay. So if you're not one, and if you're doing this alone and you're not an owl, you need to find one.
Find an owl.
You can work with.
Well, the sad thing is that we have literally no dolphin in either of us.
Very little dolphin.
So if our kids hurt themselves, it's like, get over it. You've hurt your leg, you've got another leg. Deal with it. So
when it comes to negotiation, essentially, firstly, self-awareness. You should be aware of what your dominant personality styles are.
Yeah.
Okay? And depending on who you're dealing with, you might need to dial up some of it or dial down some of your personality styles. So it's all about awareness of who you are. Because if you're dealing with an amiable, if you're going in there all numbers, right, let's get this deal done, you're just going to absolutely petrify them, and they'll go, and then they'll clam up, and then they'll not want to speak to you anymore because
they'll run away.
It's such a clash, and they'll be scared basically to do anything with you, and they'll be worried that you're dominating everything. So, very quickly when you're dealing with a direct vendor situation, you need to assess. Well, your personality style, you assess them fairly quickly, and then you adjust your style accordingly. And that's about building rapport. So if you're dealing with an amiable, you can see Caroline's eyes rolling in her head if she has to deal with someone like that.
No,
maybe you can do it though.
I can cope with it. I think that the technique I like to use, which I would love to be able to teach people, is to mirror someone else. So when you first meet them, if they give you a very sloppy, pathetic handshake, they don't make eye contact, and they're a little bit reserved or pulling away from you, you already instantly know that they're likely to be that amiable type. So you then have to mirror that a little, and just be a little bit gentle and softly spoken if they're softly spoken. So I think the mirroring technique is a good one to start off with while you start building that rapport, because if you meet someone that's similar to you in your attributes and the way that they can hold themselves, that will instantly put that person at ease, and they're more likely to communicate with you. And information is power. You need to know as much from that person as possible. So you need to get them to be comfortable in order to open up, so that you can then solve their property problem.
Yeah, and that's by asking some nice open questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something like, tell me about this house. Tell me about your situation. Rather than if you go in hard with something like, why are you selling? You might put someone like that on edge, and they might just give you a very short answer. Which probably isn't the real answer. Whereas if you say something, okay, well, just thanks for let me view your property. It's great. Let's sit down. Tell me about it. Tell me about your situation. What's happening?
See, I would never use that phrase, but then that's probably where we differ, right? So I'd be more likely going in with, how long have you lived here?
It's a closed question.
How is not a closed question. Who, where, what?
How long have you lived here? 20 years. That's a closed question.
Yes, but also, oh, okay, you're being a knobhead now. But anyway. If you are loving what you're hearing on this Property Life podcast, you can join us for a free training that will give you a 7-step process, a roadmap on how to start and scale a property investment business. The 7th step of the process is the most surprising of all. It really shakes people when they learn that 7th and final step. You will also get some live case studies of deals our students are working on right now for training that's worth over £1,000. You can access that free by clicking the link in the show notes to access that 1 hour of content today.
But that's how it's different. Everyone's got their own style, but it's just it's about opening up the conversation and letting someone talk, because when they're talking, you're listening, and you're listening for those clues, listening for the little nugget of information that might help you in a negotiation and find out what their motivation is, which is the name of the game. So if you can do that by questioning Caroline style, or you do it with a nice kind of fluffy conversation opener, either way, you've got to be listening, for the little nugget of information that's going to tell you what is actually driving this. Because it's not always the obvious, and people do frequently sell properties for less than they're worth for a particular reason. Example, remember back quite early on when we started, we found that little cottage down in, where was it? Newton Grange?
Oh yeah. I remember that now.
And that was from one of these little gold mine ads that we call, which you know, probably not so much done anymore, but back in the dark ages, you know, you would put a little ad in the paper, we buy houses.
Yeah, there was no social media then, but you know, you would do a goldmine advert campaign now, but you would just put it on a different platform.
Yeah. So this was a little like anyway. Somebody called and they were like, "Yeah, I've got a little, you know, flat. I'm quite interested. Can you come down?" So we went down. And it was a lovely old guy. If I remember rightly, his story was he'd lived there like 40 years. You know, he bought the property for buttons back then.
You wouldn't have known he'd lived there for 40 years if I hadn't have asked my question.
I know, because I asked him, tell me about it. You know, tell me
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it. I bought
yeah.
it 40 years anyway. Let's not go down that road. So anyway, yeah, his story was that he had lived there for a long time. I bought it for nothing, you know, buttons back in the day, and his family lived, you know, quite far away down south, and he just literally wanted to sell up and go. And his biggest driver was he just didn't want, he couldn't face loads of people traipsing through his house through an agent. His perception was, you put it on the market, an agent's going to have, you know, hundreds of people coming round day in day out, tramping through his house, his nice quiet old house, and he was just like, no, if you give me, you know, you give me a decent offer, I'll, yeah, that's good. That's good enough for me.
And this is the thing, right? His idea of decent and our idea of decent might be completely different. Like just even that word and that terminology, give me a decent offer. Like you kind of need to say, well, this works for us at, and put a number on it because you've no idea what decent is to him.
Yeah. So we worked, you know, I remember the time, you know, we worked out, a number that worked for us. And we put that over and he went, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
And that was it. Simple as that. And yeah, yes, could he have got more if he'd gone to an agent? Yeah, he probably would have got more. But, you know, he liked us. We gave him the number that he needed in order to, you know, and we said, we'll do it quick, you know, so we can be.
I'm just going to like go on a little side of piece section now on, you know, why vendors will rather sell to you, the investor, than go to the agent. And you have a number of clues in that little story we've told you there about that guy. You know, if he had gone to an agent, he would have had to pay the agent 1% of the price that he would have achieved. He would have had to completely clean the place up massively, declutter it, get it ready for photographs. He would have had to, like you say, have lots of strangers traipsing through his house, disrupting his life because he'd have to hide his dirty washing and empty his bin. All the neighbours in the area would know that his house is on the market. So if he was trying to be discreet, the gossip mills would be going crazy. The photographs of the inside of his house would be open for everyone to see. And a price is advertised publicly for everyone to see. So there are plenty of people out there that want to sell their house without any of that stuff happening, as well as the cost, right? So in Scotland, you've got the home report and the marketing costs and everything else. Whereas obviously in England, you've got the marketing costs and the agency fees. But there's loads of reasons why a vendor would want and would rather sell to you, the investor, off market, and will take a lesser price because they're saving all that cost and hassle than going into the traditional list it with an agent route.
Yeah, and this guy, he might have, I don't know, you know, he might have got a few £1,000s more, maybe 10 grand more going to an agent net after costs and everything else.
Yeah, but the time it would
bought the property for, you know, buttons 40 years ago. You know, probably he bought that for a few £100 40 years ago, that property.
Yeah.
And I can't actually remember off the top of my head what the number was that we offered. It's probably somewhere in the 80s, 70s, 80s, something like that. But that was fine for him. That's just what he needed. And it was fine. He could take that money. He didn't need to squeeze every penny out of it. To him, it was worth just getting a deal done and getting on with his life.
Think about the time, right? So he saw our advert, he phoned it, we met him, and he had an offer within a number of hours. Yeah. Whereas if he'd gone down the agency route, it would have taken weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, maybe let's say 3 weeks to get it even listed, with all the hassle of decluttering and cleaning and everything else. And then maybe 3 weeks of viewing before closing date set, before, you know, so he's saved himself 6 weeks of pain.
It's really easy to assume when you're out there that every single vendor, their main motivation is to get as much possible money for their property as possible. It's really easy to make that assumption, but you're going to be wrong a lot of the time if you make that assumption. For a lot of people out there, their main driver is not the most possible cash that they can get for that property. There are other reasons. There are other things going on.
Yes.
Examples, somebody inheriting a property. We've had situations, I certainly have out mentioning in the field where, we're viewing a property in Scotland, where somebody has died and a relative from down south has come up and they're selling it and they live 400 miles away. All the motivation there is just to get this away and quickly, because mentally they've already spent the money. So getting a few extra thousand, but it taking 3 months longer, it's not really a driver for them. They'd rather take a decent offer now, and just be done with it. And
back to negotiating. I went off
part of it, to be fair.
It is all part of it. It is part of it.
So when you're dealing with direct to vendor, it's all about understanding the personality type, understand your own personality type, the bits you've got to dial up and dial down, to build rapport, get the information you need to find the motivation to then put an offer based on that information that you've got, and that's your best way of getting a deal over the line in that kind of situation.
Yeah. So I love direct to vendors because it is people, and if you can really tune into your people side of your personality, that will really, really help.
It's really important to understand that property investing is a people business. The houses, they're important, but it's a people business. Whether you're dealing with direct to vendor or dealing with agents, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
So, and you can, swing things in your favor by being a good people person. So if you're not naturally one, you've got to learn to be one, or get someone in your team who's good at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in our situation, right, you're natural at going out and building rapport and you can do that quite naturally. Right. For me, that is more of an effort. I have to think about it and I have to dial that up. I do have it in my armory. I can do it.
You have
to my natural
having a personality.
Yeah. All right. Just elements of it need to be dialed up or dialed down. Right. So sometimes you got to dial down though, right? Because if you go in, put in a china shop, sparkly Caroline, 11 out of 10, Caroline. Sometimes you're going to scare people because they're like, oh, and so you have to dial it down. So it's about finding that balance and making sure that you are not scaring people off and finding that balance to get a deal over the line. And that can be the difference. I've had many occasions out on mentorship where, by giving, the person I'm working with a bit of coaching on that they've got deals over the line where they wouldn't have. Where they would have gone in, in a china shop and not got things done.
Yeah.
By actually just dialing things down, taking the time to go and, have a cup of tea with someone, which, it's like the last thing I would want to do, but sometimes you do that because it's going to get you a deal over the line that you wouldn't have got.
There was actually a meeting with a vendor we had very recently where I knew there was no way I was going to be able to crack her because her personality was so extreme, lion, that I couldn't outline her, and I tried to basically warm her up, and there was no warming to be had. It was like brutal, direct to the point and everything else. Whereas I was going in there to build rapport and find out what she needed and wanted and everything else. And actually between us...
Well, I diffused it with analytical skills.
You diffused it with analytical, asking her really detailed questions. And then she warmed up because she wanted to share that detail with you. So she was lion owl, which was the same as you. And you both connected over numbers while I sat back and thought, right, I'm leaving them to this data exchange. She data off. And then she did sort of warm up and, she became warmer and then we could talk, kids and stuff like that. But boy, she was like brutal to begin with.
Tough cookie.
She was a tough cookie.
Yeah.
Liked her. I kind of liked her.
Yeah. But, that is a great example actually there of, having to, pivot quite quickly during a conversation and understanding, well, okay, well, this isn't working and recognizing it and finding another route. So if you're on your own, you've got to be all four personality types sometimes. You've got to be ready to dial up the one you need in that moment. So that's something to be thinking about when you're dealing direct to vendor. And the best deals you're ever going to do are going to be direct to vendor ones.
Correct.
Okay.
Residential agents now. These are tough little cookies, right? Because they see professional investors, and I'm going to put professional in inverted commas, professional investors every single day. In fact, numerous times per day. So they know your game. They know that you're going to lowball them, and they are paid by the price that they achieve. So you are at loggerheads with these guys, and to win them round and to get them playing ball the way that we want to play ball is no easy feat, but I do enjoy this as well. Everything's just a bit of a game, right? You just have to treat it like a game.
You really do have to treat it like a game. Okay, so and it is about essentially, right, when you're starting out, an agent, when they don't know you, their job is to get your price up to where the vendor is, right? So the vendors, they've set the vendor's aspiration at a certain price, and their job is to get you up to that, right? When you've worked that agent and they get what you're doing, right, and they understand the volume aspect of what you're doing, right? This is all about how you speak to them. It switches, right? Because they suddenly understand that if they bring you the right deals, you'll buy all of them.
Yeah.
And a good agent should start seeing the fact that volume beats squeezing every penny out of you. So then they start bringing vendors down to you, but you've got to train them to do this. Essentially. So
their dogs.
Yeah, so this is all the benefit of understanding your market, being out in your investment area frequently, and building rapport with the agents. And I see a lot of people make mistakes early on by thinking when they're viewing a property, it's all about the house. It's all about the house, right?
Yeah.
90% of their time is spent looking at skirting boards and the boilers and the electrical wiring. And they're quite surprised when I go in and show them how I do a viewing, and I spend 10% of the time having a look at the house, and 90% of the time I'm speaking to the agent.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get the story. And I know that it's all about building rapport with the agent. And if I can get them understanding what I'm trying to do, I'm going to get a lot more stuff coming to me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be able to negotiate the prices where I want them.
Yeah. A common mistake an amateur would do is go in, look around the property, spend loads of time, like you say, boiler, roof, asking questions about that. And then, I don't think this is for me, then leave. And that's it. That's the viewing done. That is a massive missed opportunity, isn't it?
And if they do that with me out on a mentorship, they go get a black mark in the book, and they get sent back in to do it properly.
Right? Yeah, they do. You actually do send them back in. That's well humiliating. Sorry, I forgot to ask you tons of questions.
Right. So the first thing, is to go and start building rapport with that agent, because you never know who they are. It's really easy to make an assumption that person is just a key opener, a door opener, and they don't know anything about the house. But the amount of times I've been on a mentorship where you're out viewing a property and there's someone standing there, no one's talking to them, and you go up and you talk to them, and they turn out to be the owner of the agency, that no one else is available to go and do that viewing, so they've gone out to do it, right? And suddenly it's like, right, goldmine of information. And that's, a real opportunity to start building rapport and, and start laying your base level in negotiation later on. So everything that you do as an investor out in the field is about laying down the groundwork for when it comes to negotiating your offers. So, in terms of groundwork, the first things I teach people to do is to elevate themselves from everybody else, what I call the Homes Under the Hammer crowd. Okay. Yeah. We all know those people who've, watched Homes Under the Hammer forever and think they're experts in property investing and blah, blah. Yeah. So we've got to elevate from those. And the first and simplest way of doing that is when you go and meet an agent is to tell them that you're an investor, you're here to buy 10 properties over the next 3 to 6 months. And you're looking for 2 and 3 bed distressed houses in this price range, blah, blah. So straight away, as soon as you do that, you see the agent's ears should go bing, because they suddenly start seeing that you're not just here for one house.
Yeah.
It's not about this house.
Yeah. But also you've demonstrated that you know what you're talking about because you've been very specific on your brief. Some people make the mistake by saying, hi, I'm looking to buy properties at discount. Yeah. That's not really going to hit home.
Yeah. Well, all they think there is someone's been on a property course. Yeah. Right.
Or they've been on a free webinar or they've watched YouTube and they now think that they've got it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's about, elevating yourself from the homes under the hammer crowd, being something different and setting the stall out that you're here for multiple deals over a short period of time. That is the first step to doing that. And that sets you up for negotiation later on. So in terms of, so it's not just about, well, the point I'm trying to make is, you build the picture. It's not just about that point of making an offer that negotiation starts. You start it on viewing the house. You've already laid the groundwork there. Okay, but when you're actually coming to put your offers in and negotiate a deal, there's some really useful little hacks that we've learned and tips and tricks that we've learned over the years for doing this. So, what's your favourite one, Caroline?
Well, I normally explain what my plan is, how much it's going to cost me to get that plan completed, like renovating and and then therefore the max I can give you is X. Please take that to your client. I know it's not what you're looking for. I know it's not what your client's looking for, but if you take that to your client now, I can complete within 3 weeks, so that I give them a kind of, the shit sandwich where you're like, here's a lovely story. You're about to get an offer. You should be excited, but here's the offer that you probably don't want because it's much lower than you really expect. But the positive again is that I'm going to buy a load more from you, or I'm going to rent it through you, or I'm going to flip it on through you, or whatever. You just package it all up neatly so that they can see the big picture rather than focus entirely on just that small number you've just given them.
Yeah, absolutely. And how I like to do that is by, you're trading off the price against speed and certainty.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying, look, I'm not going to give you, I can't get to your number that your client wants, but I've got the cash and I'll do it quick. Yeah. Even if you don't have the cash, that's the first secret. Whether you have the cash or not, you say you have the cash. Yeah, because you'll get it, right? If you get the deal at the right price, you'll get the cash. Yeah, it doesn't have to be yours. Okay, cash that's another episode. We'll come on to that one. But initially it is, you're trading off the price against speed and certainty of doing the deal.
Yeah.
And you make sure that the agent takes that to the client. Now, we mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad a few weeks ago. We looked at the Rich Dad Poor Dad, but one thing I took many things to that book, but one of the things that really stuck in my mind about that was back when he was doing it in the 70s, he would write a check for the deposit, photocopy it, and attach the check to a written offer. All right, so he would, every offer that Robert Kiyosaki put in would have a check for the deposit attached to it. So someone could physically see, there's the money.
Yeah.
Right. So what we train our students to do and what we do ourselves is for every offer we put in, we follow it up with a proof of funds. So it's, okay, we're not giving you the price, but here's the cash, right? It's there, right? If your client wants speed and certainty, there it is. Yeah. And it's a very powerful negotiation tool. That's my favorite one for sure. Okay, it works. Okay? And again, the cynics who are thinking, why would anyone, sell a property for below what it's worth? They do, and the amount of times I've heard an agent say they'll never take that offer. They'll never take the offer. Say, well, go to them, tell them the number, show them the cash, right? And the amount of times those have turned into deals and the agents turn around and go, I can't believe you got it for that.
But I'm going to put a little bit of context around that because there's a number of steps. If you've got the agent on side and they're actually wanting to get the deal done, if they are worth their salt, they will win that client round for you. If they're an agent who is, OMG, I can't believe this ridiculous lowball price. Okay, by law, I have to take that to my client, but I totally don't believe in it. They can actually advise their client not to accept it, right?
Well,
but if the first offer is, don't interrupt, Nicholas, but if the first
you're in a different room, so I can more.
So if that first offer is rejected and then the agent's feeling very pleased with themselves because they knew it would get rejected, then all you need to do is that whole follow-up negotiation hack, which is every 2 weeks, hi, I'm still in the market at that price. I'm still at the market at that price. I'm still in the market at that price. Have you sold it? Have you sold it? Have you sold it? Have you sold it? And eventually the agent, like you might only need to do that 2 to 3 times with the agent, and they realize, hang on, this person is like a dog with a bone. They are serious about it, and maybe there's some, maybe there is something in this, and then they come around to your way of thinking, just with a little bit of time and persistence in there. Join us for our 3-day property intensive workshop. This is world renowned. This is the program I took global for Rich Dad Education and Robert Kiyosaki. This 3-day intensive workshop will go through a step-by-step process on how you are going to choose the correct strategy for your life, your circumstances. We'll go through the pros and cons of each of these strategies, and then we'll show you how to actually pinpoint your investment area, how to find the deals in that investment area, as well as how to do the deal analysis. That deal analysis saves you from making any expensive mistakes in the property market. We'll show you how to raise the money. There are more than 40 different ways of raising money to structure your deals in a creative way. We'll show you how to make lump sums of cash, as well as residual monthly income. We'll also look deep into the whole psychology and how you can use debt to create generational wealth. We'll go into multi-million pound transactions, as well as the little baby buy-to-lets at the start. And we'll show you how to actually create that wealth plan for the future so that your generations to come can benefit from the work you put in today. When you secure your ticket to the next 3-day intensive property workshop, you will also qualify for our bonus material. We have a learning platform with over 20 videos and downloadable documents to get you started and prepared for attending the workshop. In those videos, whenever they're updated, you will get access to that content. We will also make sure on the workshop that you get a one-to-one consultation with a property investor so that you can have a bespoke strategy specific to your life so that you can hit the ground running after the workshop. We don't want you to attend a course after course after course. We want you to get results now. To secure your place in our world-renowned 5-star rated sellout property workshop, click the link in the show notes to secure your spot now. Spaces fill up quickly, so don't delay.
And often, particularly in the last year or so with mortgages, a bit of turmoil in the mortgage market, what you're finding is a lot of deals don't complete, particularly first-time buyer deals. So often as an investor, you're up against a first-time buyer. So if I ever hear, an offer hasn't been accepted and a first-time buyer's bought it, and you find that out by asking good questions, that would be high on the list of follow-ups because there's a 30% chance that'll come back. And if you're the person that's been ringing, following up that offer, the agent's going to call you, or you're putting yourself in a position where they're more likely to call you when that offer, or if that offer does, collapse.
Have you literally just said that often we're up against first-time buyers and we're literally outbidding first-time buyers? Have you just said that? Because I'm just battling on social media about how landlords are not the reason that first-time buyers can't get on the property ladder.
Okay, like sometimes you are, right? Because sometimes we're buying distressed properties, right? And sometimes you do come up against first-time buyers who maybe have trades in their, maybe they're a trade, or maybe their father's a trade or something, and they look for these kind of properties. But the important bit there is a lot of them fall out of bed because they haven't done it correctly, because they think that they can buy distressed properties with a mortgage, and you can't.
Yeah.
Right. So, for a lot of time, first time buyers think they're in the market and competing with us, but they're actually not, because they're trying to buy something they shouldn't be buying and can't get the finance to buy. And that's why things fall out of bed, because they think they can get a mortgage, but then the surveyor goes out, looks at the property, it's a wreck, it's not livable. And so they will write property value zero to for the mortgage purposes, right? We've seen it, and it does happen. So it's only a first-time buyer that was thinking they were going to get that house. They're not going to get it because they were never going to get it, because they were never going to get a mortgage for it. Yeah. So that's when these come back. So when I say, so you're right, to say we're not against first-time buyers, because we're not. Yeah. But you might lose a deal to first-time buyer, but those are the ones I track because there's a really good chance they'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Because first-time buyers shouldn't be buying really distressed properties that are the ones that we buy as investors.
Yeah. So just to clarify, as investors are not trying to keep first-time buyers out of the market. I have been trolled recently for that very topic. Is you B word, landlords are the reason why there's a housing crisis, and can't wait for this property thing to crash on you, and this, that, and the other. Anyway, that's on my social media, on Instagram and stuff.
That's another episode.
That's a different episode that we'll cover. But yes, you're correct. We're not keeping first-time buyers out of the market, but you can find yourself up against them. But realistically, we're in totally different markets. Mainly because of financing.
Yeah, and those are the ones you track for that reason. Okay. So when you are, another hack for me is when you are negotiating with an agent. Okay. Often if you put a lowball offer in, particularly over the phone, what's going to happen? You put the offer in and the agent go, okay, I'll take that to client. You know that they're going to put the phone down, go off, make a cup of tea, come back 5 minutes later, ring you up, go, no, they haven't accepted that. You're going to need to come up a bit. Okay. And your instinctive reaction for a lot of beginners out there, I think, would be to immediately increase your offer.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, because they listen to the agent and they believe, oh, the agent said the vendor's not going to accept anything but blah, so I'm going to have to pay blah. Yeah. And then they're being dictated to by an agent as opposed to, well, what number does the deal work at?
Yeah. So this is where, you've got to hold firm and take all the emotion out of it, right? And this comes from one of the other things we'll probably talk about in a future episode is volume. You're not, if you ever find yourself just putting one offer in and hanging back and waiting for this offer, then that's not what we teach you to do.
Yeah.
Okay. You should have multiple offers at any one time. So you take all the emotion out of it. And if the agent does that to me, they come back and they say, right, you need to come up here. I'll say, well, sorry, that is my number. Yeah. My offer is that. That's where I'm at. Here's the cash though. Right. Have I sent you my proof of funds? There's my proof of funds. If they want the deal done in 4 to 6 weeks, then that's my number.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the agent is probably then going to pick up the phone to the client and come back, and they'll do it properly. And then they might come back. So let's pluck some numbers out the air. Let's say you offer, 80 grand on property, and the vendor wants 95. Yeah. So you're at 80, they want 95, right? But your real number that you can go to is maybe 83.
Yeah.
Okay. So they might come back in. No, it's got to start with the 9, at least. So they want to come down. They've already come down from 95 to 90. So they know they'll take something with a 9. And what they want you to do is kind of meet halfway, maybe. But you don't meet halfway. You go up maybe 250 quid. So you go, well, I was at 80. Like an absolute, if I'm really squeezy, I could maybe get to 80, 250. So immediately you're just kind of resetting the bar that, look, I'm not going to meet you halfway. I will come up a little bit, but I can't do any more than that. And I'm really squeezing everything out of it. And then the ball's back in their court. So it's basically you want them coming down more than you're going up. So you don't ever meet halfway. You might meet 15% of the way, maybe.
I'm sure there's Scottish blood in you going up by 250 quid. Gee,
that was a bit tight, wasn't it?
That was really tight.
I've been living up here too long.
That's very, very Scottish.
Yeah, but the point is, but on the back of that as well, if you know that a deal could be done at a certain number, don't miss out on it for a couple hundred quid. This actually happened on, I mentioned what I did a few years ago. I'm not going to mention his name, he might listen, but he'll know who he is.
He does listen.
Right, he'll know who he is. We're out over in Glasgow, and I was working with this lovely guy who started off his day one. I mentioned he used to work in a bank, and he was in his suit. And I was like, get that tie off immediately. Right, we're not anyway. But anyway, so we did the mentorship, and we got some really good deals, and he was putting an offer in on one, and I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it was something like he was offering 65,000, and he went in at maybe 58,950 or something like that, and the agent came back and said, look, it's got to start with a 6. And he went, okay, all right, and just said, well, I'll think about it and come back later. And this was the property that a lot of people were viewing, but we'd done everything. We'd put the offer in, backed up with cash. We'd sold ourselves really well. They came off the phone and said, right, okay, well, we offered 58,950, and they said it's got to start with 6. So, you let that go. It's like, well, yeah. I said, well, look, starting with a 6 is like 60. That's 150 quid off. So, do you really want to miss this deal for 150 quid? It was like, oh, no, better not. So he basically rang back straight away. Went, okay, if I went to 60, would they take it? They went, yeah. He went, okay, and got it off the table at 60. So it's like, don't miss out on something for the sake of a couple hundred quid. Basically, is that point.
But those situations are rare. I would say the more common play is that our students, when they're starting out, is they overpay.
Yeah,
they're just so desperate to get a deal done that, oh well, it's an extra $5,000. Okay, I can swallow that. Right, let's just get it done. I just need to get it done. That is a slippery slope. And if you start to loosen the strings on your purse early on, then it sets a really bad precedence for all your investing moving forward. So be more Scottish, be tight.
Yeah, be more Scottish. So you've got to work your number out and stick to that number with a bit of leeway either side. Don't miss a deal that's for a couple hundred quid basically, but try and stitch your number as much as you can. Okay, another one that I like is the offering an odd number on a deal. So rather than just a round number, 85 grand, 120 grand, is you offer something like 87,550. Right, so it looks like you've worked it out to the penny.
Yeah.
And we actually, Caroline actually does. She takes it to an extreme example. She actually puts pennies in. So I think when we did Stafford Street, then you offer like 333 pounds and 33 pence or something.
733 pounds. Yeah, 733,033 pence.
Yeah.
But at that point, I wasn't really au fait with the fact that commercial operates a little bit differently.
Yeah. So let's not go too extreme on it, but don't just make it round number. A round number makes it look like you plucked it out of the air. Yeah. But if you offer an odd number, it looks like you've worked it out, and I think it just gives you a bit more, a bit more of a professional look with an agent. It looks like you've done your numbers to the penny. So that's something that works, really well for me. It's good. What about the offer that isn't an offer? That's one I like.
Yes, the offer that's not an offer. Ooh, the takeaway.
Well, is that the same thing? No, it's a different thing, right? You talk about the takeaway. I talk about the offer that isn't an offer. So this is where you're trying to build rapport with an agent. Okay, you're trying to they get some good stocks. You want to maintain that relationship. You don't want to annoy anyone. Potentially risk that relationship with a really lowball offer. So I was actually working with one of my coaching students earlier or yesterday on this, and there was a property that was priced incorrectly. It was kind of priced at its done up value. Sometimes agents make mistakes, and this is another important thing is to make sure that agents do make mistakes. They're not right about everything. They do get things wrong sometimes, and they clearly priced this incorrectly. And so we talked about making the offer that is an offer, where I think the numbers were its done up value was maybe 85, and it was on at 75, 80. I think it was on at 80. And all our research said the done up value was 85, and this needed a full refurb on it.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
So the offer that isn't an offer there would be, look, where you're trying to maintain a relationship. You could just go in and go, look, I'll give you 50 grand for it. Yeah, but that's probably not going to work, especially if you're trying to build rapport. So the offer that is an offer would be something along the lines of, look, I know you're looking for 80,000 for this, but I can't get anywhere near that. I'm afraid, for these reasons, our research tells us that, if I spend 20 grand doing this up, it's only going to be worth 85. So I can't get anywhere near that number, because obviously, I'm going to be spending that money, and I want a bit of profit out of that as well. So if I was going to offer on this, I'd be looking more like 58. That's kind of where I'd be if I was going to make an offer on this. So I'll just leave that one with you, and let's look at something else. So what you've done there is you haven't offered officially, but you have, because you're giving them a number. Yeah. Now, sometimes the agent, if they get this, will say, well, look, I'm just going to take that to the client. Sometimes they'll fall off their chair and go, well, they're never going to take that. You go, okay, fair enough. But, that's where I'm at with this one. Anyway, let's look at something else. So it's basically a way of putting your offer in without necessarily having or risking annoying an agent you're trying to build a relationship with. So that's quite a useful tool when you're out in the field.
Yeah. The takeaway offer I would rarely use. Probably the only party that I would use that on is a vendor rather than an agent. Would you agree?
Yeah.
because
when you'd use it on an agent, really, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably do your version, the offer that's not the offer, with an agent, and then you do the takeaway with a vendor. So the takeaway is where they think they're in the driving seat, and they're maybe being a little bit bullish, and maybe they're unrealistic with what they're wanting. And rather than going head to head in a discussion of who's right and who's wrong and who deserves what and who deserves whatever, you just do a takeaway and say, actually, I really don't think that this property is right for me. And I wish you all the luck with securing a buyer. And in order for you to secure a really good buyer, I suggest you do this, 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 and this. But here's my number. And if you need any other advice on how you can secure a buyer, let me know. But I'm sorry, it didn't work out for me this time. And suddenly the psychology behind that is that when someone can't have something, they want it more. And there you've just turned the tables on that power struggle with Billy Big Ball's vendor, who's maybe being a bit bolshy with you. And you've just regained the power back in that situation. So that's called the takeaway.
Yeah, he said, here's the cash, but I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to go and buy something else. And I do that with agents. So you can use that with agents. Because I do that with agents where if you get an agent that, is not really understanding what you're doing or is saying, well, don't come in here with your lowball offers kind of thing. You say, that's cool. Look, I've got 200 grand to spend. There's my proof of funds, which I got from my broker. Show them the money and then go, but I'm going to go and spend that with the other agent next door because they've got some distressed properties. I'm here for 10 properties. If you don't want to sell me them, that's cool. I'll go next door.
Yeah. And they've literally had the whiff of money.
Yeah. Because when an agent does get it, right, and they do, the savvy ones do understand that if you actually break this down, an individual agent working within an agency, what is their commission? The agency itself might make 1.5% on a sale, right? So particularly when you're in cheaper areas, that might be 8 grand, 10 grand. Not even that. No, like a grand, 1,500 quid, 2 grand, something like that.
What's going on with your maths, Mr. Analyst?
Yeah, sorry. In cheaper areas, it's going to be maybe £1,000, 1,500 quid, right? And of that 1,500 quid, the actual agent selling the house, what's their commission going to be? 10, 15, 20%?
Yeah.
It's all a few hundred quid. And then when you do the maths on the difference between accepting an offer at 100k and accepting one at 80, it's in terms of the actual commission in their pocket, it's buttons. So when an agent understands volume and you say, look, if you bring me the right stuff, I'll buy as many of these as you can bring me. That's when they start working for you rather than against you. And that's what you're aiming for. And we did that when we started out in Cumbernauld. That's what we did. We found an agent. We went through loads. We found one that got it. And she just totally twigged, I can sell these guys loads of properties. She went, I'll go and do that. And she did. And she went out and her, in the agent that she was working in, they hardly sold any properties back in 2009, 10. They were hardly selling anything. And she was selling loads because we were buying them. And she was just getting
we literally educated her. We sat down and ran through the numbers and said, we need a back end value at X in order to pay you Y. So you need to then work to that formula. And she would literally email. We were overseas, we were on our honeymoon. She would email and go, I've got you this one, the back end value is this, the spend is that. And so she was doing all the work for us because she was so motivated to just get that stock moving.
Yeah, because she got the fact that she is better for her to make more sales with a lower commission than hardly any sales at a high commission.
Yeah. Now, one thing you will not do ever in a negotiation with an agent is offer them a cash incentive to sell you something. Like that is called bribery, and you will get done for that. I have had students over the years contact me and say, well, the agent said that they could secure the property for me at that price if I meet them in town with a brown envelope with £5 grand cash in it. And, you don't want to do business with people that operate like that at all. That is a massive red flag. You run a mile from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bad news.
Ethical investor. You don't need to do that, basically. If you're doing, everything, as we teach it, then, you shouldn't be needing to do anything like that. Yeah. There's plenty of deals out there. I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make is thinking there's scarcity. There's hardly any deals. There's loads. When you know what you're looking for, there's tons of them.
I'm very conscious of time, and I've still to talk about negotiating with commercial property agents.
Well, that could be, okay. Well, how is it different?
Well, they're a different beast, right? Because all the agents work together. I would say a commercial property agent is more like a sourcing agent than an actual agent like you're used to in the resi world. So you need to build relationships with less, but everyone in that community needs to know what you're doing. And what we've found is the minute that you do one deal, all the agents suddenly start sniffing around you because they know you're a buyer. And it's much easier to woo them all because they know you're good for it. And then you have a scenario where 7 of them are sending you the same property, and it's whoever gets it to you first or who you view the property with that gets the fee, right? So they are way more like a sourcing agent as opposed to what you're experiencing in the resi world. And negotiating with them is, well, it's really direct. So I love it. It's really open. It's really frank. You can talk far more, well, I'm going to say commercially, as in businessy with them because they get it. They're working with sort of higher end folks that are business owners, in some cases with multi-million pound businesses or property portfolios behind them. So they're far more open to structuring deals. So saying to them things like, right, well, can we put an option together on this? Will they be open to doing a split payment, some now, some later? All those types of conversations that you wouldn't necessarily ever go into with a vendor or a resi agent, you can do with a commercial property agent. I love it because obviously with my driver personality, I can be really direct, open and upfront and just get something done there and then. I find there's less competition in that marketplace. Although we've gone to closing dates and we've won those closing dates on commercial properties, you tend to find that if you're likable, then the agents do play favoritism. I shouldn't probably say that publicly, but I know that they do. They will sell to people that they like and that they know, will maybe be good for them in the future. There's a lot of
commercial, isn't it? And they have a bit more
commercial. There's a lot more networking and lunching and wine tasting and various other things that goes on. Oh, of course, another reason why I enjoy it. But it's the same principles apply. That personality profiling, figuring out what do they want. Look, at the end of the day, for a commercial agent, all they care about is the commission. Bottom line, that's it. So if you can demonstrate to them that you're going to be good for it, paying them lots of commission regularly, then that's music to their ears and you stay in the forefront of their mind and they will send you whatever it is that you're looking for. But be very specific with them because they're hungry for that commission. You can say to them, you're looking for townhouses in a certain postcode, and then you'll get sent an industrial shed just in case you might be interested in it. But that's okay. Like there's way fewer deals that are done generally in that space than you would get on the resi side. Is that a whistle stop tour of commercial?
Yeah, there we go. So I think on that note, we've done negotiation.
Yep.
So if you want to come and meet us, we're going to be at the London Business Show at the Excel Centre in London on the 12th to the 14th of November. It'd be great to see
13th and 14th, Nicholas. 13th, 14th. Yeah.
We're getting it on the 12th. Yeah, 13th and 14th of November. Yeah. So come and see us. We'll have a stand there, and Caroline will be doing some masterclass sessions.
Yeah, I'm holding 3 different types of masterclasses. One is my 7 steps to investing property using other people's money. The other is the UK's hotspots for investing in 2025. And the other one is genuinely how much money do you need to get started in property. So I'll be doing those 3 masterclasses over those 2 days on the 13th and 14th in London. And I'm doing a keynote speech at the same time in amongst all that. And, well, I'm not cloning myself, but within that 2-day period, I'm also doing a keynote speech.
Great. So it'd be great to see any of you if you can make it down there. And in the meantime, come check out our website, propertywealthsystem.co.uk, and we will see you on the next podcast very soon.
And our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we haven't about that now.
Yeah, Property Wealth System YouTube channel, and of course my social media, CarolineClaydon.property on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that lovely stuff that goes on out there. I hope you've enjoyed the content today, guys. We'll see you for a fun-packed episode next time. Take care. Remember to click the link in the show notes for you to access a free online 1-hour training special that's worth over £1,000 to start and scale your property business today. Click the link in the show notes to watch.